blew out the candles on my birthday cake after my parents told me to make a wish. It was just my parents, my Uncle Alfred, and me, as always. Don't think it was a sad birthday party for me. It was all I had ever known, so I was as happy as I could be. "What did you wish for, champ?" asked my dad while cutting the cake for all of us. "I wished I could go to school," I said. I didn't mean to make them feel bad, and I was happily surprised when my mom grinned and nodded at my uncle. Please take a second to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also ring the notifications bell so you know when a new crazy story is out. "What are you so smiley about, Mom?" I asked her. "Elias, why don't you open up your uncle's gift?" she asked me in return. My Uncle Alf placed a rectangular box in front of me. It was pretty small. I undid the bow and opened it to find a pair of glasses. I looked back and forth between my parents and my uncle. "My eyes are fine. Why should I wear glasses?" I asked them. My uncle took the glasses from me and showed them to me from every angle. "I designed these puppies a while ago, Eli. They filter it out," he said. It took me a second to catch what he meant. They could fix my eyes? You see, I was born with a rare condition, or curse as I like to call it, because it had caused me nothing but trouble and hardship. My parents told me that when I was born, the doctor who delivered me cried harder than I did the first time because she couldn't bear to see me cry. They say she wouldn't let go of me, saying I was hers. My dad finally got a hold of me and gave me back to my mom. Someone came to get the doctor out of the room, but when the nurses came to check on me, they all had the same reaction as the doctor. They tried to snatch me out of my mom's arms. My parents had to fight people off just to take me home. Anyone who looked into my eyes, they became obsessed. My parents soon realized it wasn't safe for me to be seen. I've never experienced it myself because the only people I've met face to face are relatives, and it doesn't work on them. I've simply always trusted my parents when they say I can't go outside. "You mean I can finally?" I asked in disbelief. "If they work, you can go to school," said my dad, squeezing my shoulder. I had wanted this forever. I had never been to school, or to a party, or to anything, really. I was 17 and had never seen a girl I wasn't related to, not in real life. I put the glasses on and everything looked the same to me, which I was glad for. I was kinda scared they would distort my vision. "We have to try them out. It's the only way to know if they work," said my uncle. I was so nervous. I was shaking. It was cold and dark outside, because my uncle said it was better to try them out at night just in case they didn't work, so less people would see my eyes. My mom looked worried, but my dad threw an arm over her shoulders and calmed her down. "We'll be back soon," said my Uncle Alf. He put a hand on my shoulder and we walked out onto the street. We walked a couple blocks. We saw a few people and they didn't have any reaction to seeing my eyes with glasses on. But my uncle said we should try in better lighting. We saw a corner store and walked there. He made me go in myself to buy a candy bar and test out the glasses with whoever was behind the cash register. I walked in and did a double take because there was a girl behind the cash register. Just my luck. The first girl I ever saw, and she was absolutely gorgeous. She smiled at me when I walked in. I gave her an awkward smile back and then just looked down at the floor. I browsed the aisles, sneaking glances at her when I could. She wasn't looking back at me, so I guess the glasses worked. Great, I thought. The one moment when I want my eyes to do the thing, they don't. I grabbed a candy bar and shyly walked up to her. I placed it on the counter between us and glanced at her. My palms were sweaty. "Is that all?" she asked. Her voice was like honey. I nodded because I couldn't get a word out. "I haven't seen you around here before. Are you new in town?" she asked me when she was getting my change. "You've probably seen me before, you just don't remember," I muttered. "I think I'd remember those eyes," she smiled. I could feel myself blushing a little. Totally embarrassing. She told me to have a good night as I left, and I muttered a "you too." My uncle was waiting outside, but the smile on his face told me he had seen everything. He gave me a playful punch on the arm and said, "Bet you wish the glasses didn't work right now, huh?" I chuckled and we walked home. I asked him a million questions about what it was like going to a real school because soon enough, it would be my first day. My dad dropped me off in front of the local high school a week after my birthday. I walked in and was immediately approached by a guy my age. He looked kind of geeky, but he was chill. He was asked to show me around because we had most classes together. He showed me all the important places, told me certain things about certain people, and told me which teachers not to mess with. It was all intimidating, but at the same time, I was incredibly hyped to be there. The guy's name was Josh, and I spent most of the day following him around. When we went to the cafeteria for lunch, school got even better. Guess who I saw sitting on a table? The girl from the corner store. Josh almost had to pick my jaw off the floor for me. He grabbed my arm and sat me down at a table nearby. He started asking me what it was like to be homeschooled when the girl from the corner store walked up to us. "Hey, you," she smiled at me. "I didn't catch your name the other day." I said my name was Elias, and she told me her name was Angelica. It seemed fitting because she looked like an angel. She sat down next to Josh, and the three of us talked until the bell rang and we had to go to class. A few months passed, and I became really good friends with Angelica, but I wanted more. She got me a job at the corner store so we could hang out while I stocked shelves and she did inventory while sitting at the counter. She was a cheerleader, and one night we were talking when she told me I should join the basketball team. By then, she knew I had been homeschooled for a long time, and I had told her that I shot hoops all the time in the backyard. She told me I should try out for the team, so I did. As if I wasn't nervous enough trying out for the basketball team, the cheerleaders joined to watch, including Angelica. I was better at shooting hoops than any of the other guys, even the ones already on the team. The next trial was that I had to play against the best player. Stakes were high. If I won, I could join. We were both sweating, both concentrating on winning. I finally jumped in the air, and at the last second, the ball fell through the net, and I won. I ran up to Angelica, picked her up, and spun her around. She laughed super loud, and that's when I knew I had to ask her. "Will you be my girlfriend?" I blurted out. I wanted to facepalm. I was sweaty, probably stinky, and she had just seen the ugly faces I make when playing basketball. I thought I was about to get rejected in front of the most intimidating people at school. But then she said yes. I took her out on a proper date to a bookstore cafe she loved, and I felt like the luckiest guy in the world. I was doing amazing on the basketball team, and life was pretty much going perfect for me. My parents were incredibly happy that I was finally able to have a normal life, and they were proud that I was doing so well in every aspect of school. My Uncle Alfred occasionally checked up on the glasses to see if they had taken any damage, but I kept them in perfect shape. I went to basketball training every day after school, and practiced at home too, because we had the biggest game coming up. We were going to play against our school's rival school. The day of the big match finally arrived. There was excitement in the air. Everyone was ready to support our team. There was tension between our school and the visitors. We were uncomfortable having them in our territory. Before the match, we shook hands with the other team. There was an unspoken rule to squeeze the other team's hands as hard as possible to intimidate them. The other team's coach came up to our coach, and they got into a heated argument. "No glasses! You better get 4 eyes off the court!" the other coach shouted. "You want one of my best players to play blind? How about I blind you?" my coach shouted back. I was afraid this would happen, since I'm technically not allowed to wear glasses. Our principal got involved and settled the matter. My parents had told her that I could hardly see at all without glasses, so an exception was made. When the timer started, we became animals. My team worked together like a machine, and we were winning. Suddenly, one of our best players tripped and twisted his ankle. It all seemed lost, but we managed. I was running towards a teammate, shouting I was open, when I saw some jerk from the other school flirting with Angelica. She looked uncomfortable, trying to get away. I was too distracted watching her, wanting to help her get away from that creep, that I didn't notice my teammate passing to me. He hit me square on the jaw, and I stumbled backwards. I felt my glasses fall off. I shut my eyes fast enough for no one to see and kneeled down to look for them, still with my eyes shut. I could hear everyone else around me still moving, and then I heard glass shatter. People noticed I was on the floor, so someone pulled me up. They kept shouting at me to just open my eyes, but I shouted back that I couldn't. I just couldn't. Then I felt someone shove me full force, and I fell backwards onto the floor, opening my eyes. I looked around, and everyone went quiet. "Uh-oh," I muttered. I watched everyone's eyes go pink and red for a second. Then they returned to normal, but they all looked like beasts. They stormed towards me, almost tearing each other to shreds to get at me. I ran out of there as quick as I could, but they grabbed hold of my basketball jersey. I managed to make it through the doors, but they ripped part of my jersey off. I didn't have a way to get home besides on foot, so I had to run. I heard the entirety of my school and half the other school running behind me, but I didn't stop. My eyes were open all the way home, so soon enough, I had this violent mob of people, almost the entire town, running full speed behind me, pushing each other down to get at me. I lost them for a second by cutting through a forest and making it home. When I ran in, my parents were alarmed. I told them everything that happened, and they ran to lock the doors. My dad called my uncle, and he said he'd be home soon. I ran upstairs with my mom and threw as many clothes as I could into a travel bag. "How long will I have to leave for?" I asked her. "I don't know, darling," my mom said, sniffing and caressing my cheek. We heard honking downstairs, so I ran down and into my uncle's car. I saw the mob of people approaching quickly. "Drive, drive!" I shouted at my uncle. When we sped off, I nearly pulled my hair out in frustration. My uncle was blabbing on and on about trying to make contact lenses next time, but I wasn't listening. The amazing life I had slipped through my fingers in mere seconds. What happened to Angelica? Would I ever see her again? It's been months. My uncle still hasn't developed the technology I need. I miss Angelica every single day, but there's no hope. Everyone in that town is still looking for me. I have to stay hidden. Hi, my name is Johnny. If I were to tell you that one word managed to turn me into a millionaire, would you believe me? Well, let me tell you, it's the truth. The word no made me a millionaire. And if you don't believe me, keep watching to figure out how it all happened. Usually these stories about how people become millionaires always start out with the people claiming they lived a poor life, they were so miserable, etc. But actually, with me, that's not how it started out. I wasn't rich, definitely not, but I was happy. My family and I could afford small holidays sometimes, and we didn't really need to be too concerned about getting food on the table and a roof over our heads. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. We were somewhere in the middle. But before I go on, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and smash that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these awesome stories. If you do this in the next 5 seconds, you will become a millionaire when you're older. Trust me, it really works. When I was 16, my dad had us move to a new location for his job. He had gotten a promotion at his company, and even though I was really sad that I had to say goodbye to my friends, I was happy for him. He told me this new job was really exciting and he loved going to work. My first day at my new school was pretty hectic, to say the least. You see, I guess I was considered quite the handsome guy, or at least that's what lots of people told me. I didn't really know what they meant, to be completely honest, but I guess there's always the saying that people see you as 20% more attractive than you see yourself. Well, when I first got to school, I was surprised to find a lot of people wanted to be my friend. The new friends that I made told me a lot about how the girls thought I was cute and wanted to go out with me. I was pretty overwhelmed, but excited to know that I was popular. I was pretty much popular with everyone, that is, except for a peculiar guy called Michael. Michael was in the same class as me for pretty much every subject, and for some reason, he hated my guts. Whenever we were around, he would give me death stares and whisper insults under his breath. I'm pretty sure he was just jealous of me. One day, I was sitting at my lunch table when Michael appeared. He had a tray of food and pretended to trip over so that all his food landed on me. I easily saw through his act and stood up in anger. "What do you think you're doing?" I yelled. "Oh, sorry about that, Your Majesty," he said. Then he started laughing and walked away before I could say or do anything else. I was furious, and I wanted revenge. So my friends and I made a plan. We would sneak over to Michael's locker and fill it with something really embarrassing, so that when he opened it up, the whole school would see. We agreed on the plan and got all of it ready. Pretty soon, the next day, Michael walked over to his locker to get his books, while my friends and I waited around the corner. We were giggling and shoving each other because we were just so excited. Finally, Michael opened it up and out came a flood of stuffed animals. Michael stared in shock at all the teddy bears and bunny rabbits that spilled over his feet. And then he looked up at us in anger as he saw our red faces bursting with laughter. "Aw, is Michael a wee baby?" teased one of my friends. "Does Michael need a diaper?" I thought that was a little too harsh, but I couldn't stop laughing at Michael's face. He looked so mortified. The other students standing nearby started laughing too. Michael yelled out, "I'll get you back for this, Johnny." And then he stormed off with a look of pure hatred. We kept laughing until the bell rang for class, then we headed off with tears of laughter streaming down our faces. In class, his last words echoed in my head. "I'll get you back for this, Johnny." But I wasn't too concerned. What was the worst he could do? Little did I know, Michael was capable of doing a lot. And if I had known what he would have done next, I would never have pranked him. I came home one day to find my father in the living room with my mother, who was crying. "What's going on?" I asked in a panic. "Johnny, there's something I have to tell you," said Dad. He motioned me to sit down next to him, and then he started to explain everything. "I've been fired from my job." "What?" I said in surprise. "But why?" "I have no idea, but don't you worry. We'll work things out." "But how will we live if you don't have a job?" My dad hesitated and looked at my mom. I'm not exactly sure, but I'll make sure things are fine. I'll get a new job."